So we're going to kick it off here today with a prayer, as we always do. And Kelly George is doing our prayer today. Take it away, Kelly.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning from Australia. Let's place our hands on our hearts and take a breath of gratitude. We're so grateful to be gathered here in the Power of Love Ministry Room for Sundays with Spirit. So grateful to partner up with our higher Holy Spirit selves for the healing today. We're receptive and allowing. And we bless Jennifer, all who have organized today's session. And we bless Kelly and her husband Eric for their music and thoughts today. And we share these benefits with everyone because we're one. In gratitude, we let this healing be, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Kelly. Yes. And Maggie Byrne is here today to give us our message. So happy about that. And she and her husband are also giving us the music. How cool is that? So I have known Maggie for a number of years now. She's a powerful member of our Masterful Living community, and she is a joy to know and to be with. She is a powerful being who is an accomplished songwriter. She's really been walking the talk and living the love through her music and through the light that she brings with her consciousness of love. So, Maggie and Eric, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, just to kick us off here, we're going to sing a song called You Are Precious. And just to settle into this time together and try to just take this message in as sort of a call to worship and a reminder that this is how God always sees us.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Maggie. And that's an original song. Did you both write it? Did you write it together, or was it just you, Maggie?
We did write this one together. Eric has a way with the piano, and he one night was sitting playing those chords, and I thought they were so haunting. And I had sort of had the first
Yeah.
part of the melody in my head earlier that day, and I thought, I wonder if we try to put these together. And the words just kind of came later on this one. So yeah, Eric kind of went first on that one.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Well, I look forward to the rest of the songs you're going to give us today. And now, how wonderful, Maggie, you're going to give us the message.
Yes, are you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna move the computer for just a minute because I
Okay.
use a different microphone. So
Okay.
just take a second.
Sure, go ahead. So while you're doing that, I'll just invite people, if you have a moment, to please put in the chat where you're from, what your intention is today. I find that when we declare our intention, it becomes a powerful opportunity to affirm that which we desire to call into being, and it strengthens our willingness to receive it. And that's so important. Our willingness to receive is just absolutely the life changer. For so many of us, we don't feel worthy of the good that we desire, and we don't even realize how unworthy we feel. So in this journey to awakening, this journey to uh, beauty and love and joy and freedom, let us be willing to receive everything that is ours to receive, all the blessings. I see Maggie is ready now. All right, bring it on, Maggie. You got
Okay,
this.
all right. Can you guys hear me okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So I first just wanted to say thank you. I was very nervous yesterday, but this morning I woke up feeling really grateful that I'm learning something and that I have something to share. And I'm very grateful to you, Jennifer. You've been so helpful to me on my path. And you've just created a beautiful community based on non-judgment. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So today I'm going to be talking about perfectionism and purity. And I would like to start with a story. So it was New Year's morning, 2021, and the year was off to a little bit of a rough start for me. It was 9 a.m. I was sitting at the desk where I do my spiritual work, and I was in a funk. And I thought, this is not a good omen to be in a funk at 9 a.m. on New Year's morning. I think my lifelong perfectionism was up with the blank canvas of a new year before me in which to get things right, or my fear to get them wrong. So I did what Jennifer encourages us to do, is to be willing. That's all we need bring is willingness, and not even a lot. We can just start with a little. So I got to work on the self-sabotage challenge that you were doing at the time, Jennifer. And I just sort of put one foot in front of the other and did that inquiry process. And so I did that, and I kind of let it go. So fast forward to the next day, January 2nd, and it was lunchtime. And so I should say I was feeling a little better, but I was still a little irritable, still a little off. So it was lunchtime. So I went to the refrigerator to see what I could have for lunch. And I saw the chicken noodle soup that I had made for Christmas Eve. And I thought, well, that sounds good. I'll have that. So I heated that up. And as I was doing so, I was like, this is 8 days old. This looks a little cloudy. Does it smell a little bit? I thought, no, it's fine. It's fine. So I heated it up, sat down at the table to eat, and it just tasted off. And so I let that go. I put that down the garbage disposal. I went back to the fridge where I saw the salmon that my husband had made the night before. And my husband is an amazing cook. This had a maple glaze. I could picture it heated up over a salad. It just sounded delicious. But next to it, I saw the steak that my husband had also prepared for Christmas dinner. So this was now 7 days old. And I thought, I should really eat this steak. This is the last chance on the steak. No one else is going to eat this steak. It's good steak. I'll eat the steak. And so I cut it up with some vegetables. I'm sauteing it, and I sit back down at the table and I'm eating it. And it just doesn't taste quite right. And I'm sort of trying to force it through. But then I notice I'm really just eating the vegetables. I'm kind of avoiding the steak. So I let that go. So back to the fridge a third time, where I see more chicken noodle soup, this time canned chicken noodle soup that we had bought for our son, Henry, who's 9. And he's a very picky eater. And he wouldn't eat it, because it had a vegetable in it. So we had it left. And I thought, well, I can eat this soup. So I pulled it out, put some in a pottery bowl. And as I lifted the bowl up to put it in the microwave to zap it, it literally felt like someone smacked the bowl out of my hands. It went crashing to the floor before I knew what happened. It was a complete mess. There were noodles, carrots, chicken, shards of pottery all over the floor. There was broth with chunks of bits in it all over the front of the stove, all over the front of the cabinets, all over my shirt, all over my pants, and what I could only assume was God's memorable touch, a spiral noodle hanging out of my shoelace. So I went upstairs, I changed clothes, I came back downstairs and got out the paper towels and the Clorox wipes and set to work cleaning it up. The entire time scrubbing on the floor, muttering, seriously, to myself and to God. But I got it cleaned up, and there was still kind of a little stick to it, after when you walk across. But I got the message. I don't have to eat the rotten food. I can eat the fresh food. I can treat myself with the same courtesy I would treat anyone else. I wouldn't have served any of those meals to anyone else in my family. So I went back to the fridge the 4th time and I heated up the salmon, and I have it over a salad with my favorite toppings, and it was absolutely delicious. For those of you who know Karen Carruthers, I told her this story, and in her quick-witted way, she immediately summed it up as, yes, chicken noodle soup for the ego. So I think that's how I will remember this lesson. But my question is, have you done this recently? Have you treated yourself like someone not really worth bothering about? A way that you would never treat a best friend, a child, your mother? Another of mine is trying to carry 15 things at once, which I do all the time. And every time my husband, Eric, who you just saw, just looks at me, shakes his head, and sort of sighs. Another simple everyday one is simply rushing. Something I've learned in your classes, Jennifer, an insight I had was that rushing is really a form of distrust. It's a reflection of scarcity thinking. There's not enough time. I have to hustle and make up the gap where there's not enough. I got to work it and I got to hustle, because if I don't hustle life is going to hustle me. So what was going on with me that day that I was not being kind to myself? Was it just that I'm an environmentalist and I didn't want to waste the food? Well, I am an environmentalist, and I did feel really bad. I really hate to waste meat, especially. But the opportunity to not waste the meat was when it was edible, I think. So that's not what was going on. What was going on was that I felt guilty. The reason I felt guilty was because we were at the cusp of a new year, at the close of an old one, and I had not done anything to get my music out there that I felt I was supposed to do. And I didn't have any confidence that the new year would bring anything different. And I was just sort of preemptively ashamed. So I should pause here for a moment and just tell you all how I came to songwriting. I came to it very recently after starting non-judgment work with you, Jennifer. And when this first came up in Masterful Living, of watch your mind, look for judgments, I thought, okay, I'm a nice person. Ask anyone who knows me. I'm not judgmental. I love everybody. I'm very inclusive. No problem. And she said, well, just watch your mind. And I did, and it was rather shocking. I had a lot of judgments, particularly about my husband, Eric. And what I found was so the first step was to become aware of them. And that's a big step because it is a little mind-blowing. And then the next step was to consider the possibility that they might not be true, to kind of start disinvesting in these judgments. So I started to do that, and I felt them start to fall away. And that in and of itself is life-changing. But I love how spirit works. You give up your judgments, you get back songwriting. So what happened was I still had the practice of watching my thoughts. And what I began to notice was that now I was hearing songs, little snatches of little prayers for myself or other people, just kind of coming through, sometimes famous prayers, just coming through my mind. And what I don't know is, were those songs always there and I couldn't hear them above my ego's chatter? It could be. Is it that they could come in now because there was space to get through? I don't know. But I can tell you that writing songs taught me to pray. When my son Henry had a rough day at school, I wrote a song for children called I Can Calm Down. When a coworker at work just seemed really full of anger, I just went to the break room to heat up my coffee, and this person, I could just tell something was going on. A little song came to me for them on the way back to my computer, seeing them in joy and surrounded by support. And when I was struggling with feelings of guilt, it came to my mind to write a purity affirmation song for myself, affirming my own innocence. So I think prayer transmutes things, and we know and believe that here. And I think music can too. And it's been said that if you sing, you pray twice for that reason. And I can't actually think of any spiritual or religious tradition that doesn't include song. I can't think of any. Music also brought me a lot closer to my husband. As I mentioned earlier, I had a lot of judgments about him. And as I let those go and we started working on music together, I discovered his innocence. And I also discovered my biggest collaborator in music. And where we used to be staying up late arguing, now we were staying up late working on music. The other fun thing about it, yes, I agree, is that the lyrics would just seem to come naturally to me. Lyrics and melody, they just often come very easily to me. And for Eric, these beautiful chords will just kind of tumble out of him. And so it just seemed to be this gift of something we were given to do together. But I also had a belief that I was supposed to do something with the music. Surely it couldn't just be for me or Eric or to help us heal our relationship. So back to that day after New Year's, after I'd had my salmon, I felt the thought to go work on music because I was aware of the guilt and I wanted the guilt to go away. And then I heard the thought, no, sit and be still. Sit and rest. I had the house to myself, which is a rarity. We've got 2 people working from home with COVID, and our son is doing virtual learning. And I saw my knitting sitting there, and I thought, oh, that does sound nice. And after the chicken noodle soup incident, I thought maybe I should just sit and knit. I don't want something to get knocked out of my hands. So that's what I did. I sat and knitted and relaxed. That felt kinder to myself. Because there's this tension between the goal we want to achieve and the energy we bring to meeting that goal. At least for me, there is. And Martin Luther King spoke very eloquently on this topic. And could there be a more noble goal than working to create a more just society? And even in that context, this is what he said. The means must be as pure as the ends. The means must be as pure as the ends. So if we seek to do something good, but we do it in an energy of hustling, or if I seek to do something good, but I'm so focused on my holy goal that I brush past the person on the sidewalk that maybe I was meant to talk to or at least smile at. If I'm so focused on my goal that I miss the invitation to be still, I may miss the good that God was seeking for me to do or even to experience. I realized in thinking about this in perfectionism and ends and means, perfectionism is focused on the ends. It's focused on getting it right. Purity is focused on the means. It's a state of being. Perfectionism is of the ego, and purity is of the spirit. It's what we already are. It's not something that we do. And I have to tell you that I had to remind myself of this when Eric and I were practicing, because a couple of weeks ago we were getting ready for this. Of course, we've been practicing, and I heard myself saying to Eric, it's an 8th note, not a quarter note before the next chord. And you need to stop on the C before going straight to the B flat when you're doing the walk down. And Eric, put his hands off the keys and put them in his lap. And he said, this is not fun. And I had to say, oh, right. There I go again, putting perfectionism above purity, putting ends above means. And no less for a song called You Are Precious. It's actually quite hilarious. And I'm really glad that I can laugh at myself now when I catch myself doing these things. So after I chose to rest that day, the rest of the day unfolded in a really neat way. For one thing, I was open and available for a conversation with a relative who's a teacher. And she was very scared and anxious about returning to school the following day. There were high rates of COVID in her community, and this was the beginning of January, right after Christmas, when they were expecting an additional spike. I also had the energy to play music with Eric when he asked later that day, because I had often been feeling confusingly irritable when Eric would ask me to play music. it always seemed like I was exhausted. And because he gets inspired at like 7 p.m. and that's when I hit my wall. But I had rested earlier. And so I had the energy. And that was really an answered prayer. And I love that how treating myself kindly also led to answering my own prayer and others' prayers, as you'll see. So I bought Eric this album for Christmas. It's Alicia Keys' new album, and she's putting out amazing spirit-led music. And Eric loved it. He's been very into her, and he had actually downloaded the sheet music and had learned it. And that's what he wanted to play. And I also think it helped that it wasn't our song, because then we weren't working on it. We were just playing it. And the song he wanted to play was called Good Job by Alicia Keys. And it is a song bearing witness to essential workers and their struggles, lifting them up, thanking them, telling them that they matter, and simply that they're doing a good job. So as we're playing this song on the piano, just having fun, we got the idea to practice it a few times and call back our relative who was a teacher. And we did. And we did this spontaneous FaceTime personalized performance just for her. She didn't know it was coming. And it was so powerful for all of us. And then we called another friend who's here today, also a teacher, who had been really struggling with going back to school in this environment. And we called her the next morning, and we caught her less than an hour before she went into her first staff meeting of the year. And she said that, she wrote me later and said it really changed how she was approaching the year. So being kind to ourselves, including granting ourselves rest, paves the way for us being a healing presence. And in fact, it might be a prerequisite. I want to read to you the opening of Psalm 23, which is "The Lord is my shepherd." And this is in the Mastery Journals, if you're in Masterful Living, and in any Bible, if you're not. So there's the famous part that you probably know of this: "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the death, I will fear no evil." But what I want you to notice is the beginning. Notice how we are led to lie down in the grass. We're led to go beside the water. We're led to be restored before we're led to be of service. "The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness." So rest is part of restoration. And when we're restored, we can be of service. So as I was preparing for this, I thought, well, is that where I want to end it? I mean, I can't just sit around and knit all day. That can't be the point we're saying here. So I sort of pondered, what's the real take home of this? And the answer that I got was that it's about presence. It's about means. So if I decide to sit and knit, I'm going to be present to that. I'm going to let myself enjoy it. I'm going to feel the soft yarn going through my fingers, think about the person I'm making this for, or think about nothing. And if I sit down to music, I'm going to be present to that. I'm going to be open to what comes instead of approaching it with expectation and pressure. And so back to kind of where we started with this and the topic of the new year and New Year's intentions, I now have a different New Year's intention. And that is to release guilt as a motivator and to see myself and everyone else as innocent. Thank you so much for letting me share what I'm learning.
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie. That was beautiful. I think that was just what we needed to hear today. Thank you so, so much. Oh, yes. Very grateful that we're able to gather today. So many people have so much going on, and so many people are deeply challenged, and many people that we know are deeply challenged. We know people all over the world, and here in the United States, we have a lot of people that we know in Texas who are going through very, very difficult times, very challenging. Oh, I have to plug in my computer. And so remembering to be kind ourselves is it's a healing ball in a fitful world. It really is. Being kind. I love that the Dalai Lama said years ago, kindness is my religion. And I've taken that to heart myself, because I think certainly when I was younger, I don't know that kindness was my go-to practice, but it's really become something that's important to me. And I know exactly what you're talking about, Maggie. I think we all do, regarding eating of leftovers. And I should eat this up before it goes bad, kind of a thing. And certainly that's how I was raised, for sure. I remember some years ago, my dad had made some hummus. We make great hummus in our family. And he had made this hummus, and it had been in the fridge for a while. It had grown mold on top of it. And he scraped that mold off and he ate it, and then he got really sick. And I just thought, oh, you know, I don't want to live this way. I don't want to think this way, that I have to eat something I don't like or that could make me sick, because otherwise it's a waste. But many of us were raised by people who were um, alive during the Depression, or our grandparents were alive during the Depression, or maybe our great grandparents were alive during the Depression. And so we have these kinds of ingrained thought patterns of waste not, want not, and certainly a constant stream of lack and limitation thinking, that there's not enough. When I was a little girl, for sure, the whole concept of you have to eat what's on your plate because there are children starving in other countries, and they would be so happy to have what you have. And I thought, as all children think, well, then send it to them because I do not want it. And so we've got these thought patterns in our mind, and we are here to bust them up and to recognize that we're entitled to miracles, and we are also worthy of kindness from ourselves and from others, and that we can treat ourselves kindly. And if we wanted to eat the steak or the chicken soup when it was still quite edible, we would have eaten it, and that time has passed, and we can love ourselves enough to find something else. So we learn these things one way or another. And even when we're learning a hard lesson, because we've been thinking thoughts of lack and limitation, and now we've found ourselves in a hole of some kind, because it happens, I would say, to most of us, if not all of us, at some point in our lives, even when we've dug ourselves into a hole of anger or resentment or hurt or complaining or judgment, as Maggie was talking about, when we seem to have slid down that slippery slope of low thinking, low vibrational thoughts. And what we're experiencing is the outpicturing of our lack and limitation thinking. When that happens, that is the key time to remember to laugh, and to remember that we wouldn't be experiencing the difficulty right now if our thoughts weren't so powerful. We would not be experiencing a difficulty right now if our thoughts weren't so powerful. So, knowing that they are so powerful, let us start blessing the whole world and let us ride a wave blessing. So, I'm going to invite you to turn within and place your hands on your heart. And let's forgive ourselves for lack and limitation thinking. I'm going to invite you to mentally open yourself for your higher Holy Spirit self to show you where in your life have you perhaps dug some kind of a hole with lack and limitation thinking, with resentment thinking, with thinking that we've been betrayed or hurt or wounded in some way. Just inviting you to open your heart and your mind to see any place where perhaps you've been thinking this way and it has manifest as a difficulty that you've been experiencing lately. Let's just take that responsibility. And taking a deep breath together, let us forgive ourselves. Let us forgive ourselves. We didn't realize what we were doing. We lost track of things. We got on the pain train and we forgot to get off. Jesus tells us in A Course in Miracles, we can learn through joy or we can learn through pain. Learning through joy is easier and faster. Learning through pain, not so much fun. But we have the choice. We have the choice. Learning through joy is really learning through remembering instead of learning. Instead of having to go 2 + 2 = 4 and having to do the math and having to drive the car and make the phone calls and gather the evidence and put it together, make deductions, all that labor, we can just remember the truth. This is our free will choice. But many times we're not so interested in the truth. We're interested in the story we made up. We're interested in reliving the past. Maggie's story is a great example for us. No doubt in her past, she learned that this is what you do. You don't waste the food. Even if you don't feel like eating it, you eat it. Because it's a waste, and to waste is bad. So we're forgiving ourselves for this kind of thinking that we've been taught. Now, of course, we don't like to waste things. But sometimes we cook more food than we need. Then we don't feel like eating it anymore. Sometimes we put more food on our plate than we can eat. We can't put it back. It's not a crime. But when people are living in poverty and they're terribly frightened of not having enough food, it does become a crime. And then we become criminals. And we don't even know what's going on in our own mind. And this is where self-compassion and forgiveness sets us free. Because when we have the consciousness of having and the consciousness of prosperity and abundance, we stop experiencing lack and limitation again and again and again. So we literally stop putting too much food on our plate. We stop cooking more than we are going to need. Our mind shifts and things come into balance. And the ends is in the means. So if we'd like to live an awakening life, and we would, and we'd like to see peace all over the world, then starting with the great kindness of forgiving ourselves for thinking we made mistakes. When a toddler falls down, when it's learning to walk, we don't berate that child. We don't chastise that child. We don't punish the child. We help the child because we love the child. We understand the child is learning. And sometimes there will be falling down, and sometimes tears, and maybe there will be banged heads, cracked skin, maybe some blood, some bruises. Sometimes that's how it is in the learning. But it doesn't mean we're making mistakes. We don't have to judge it. We can be kind. So let's make the most of this opportunity today and decide to be willing to be kind no matter what, in all such situations and circumstances. That we're going to make kindness a priority. Kindness more important than economics or being right or knowing how things should be. We're going to be kind. If we buy something that's too much and it goes bad before we can eat it, we can be kind with ourselves. Because honestly, I've truly learned that we do these things in order to feel bad, so that there's a steady stream of feeling bad. We don't even recognize that we're doing it. So if we put kindness first, we're putting love and compassion first, and only good can come from that. Love and true kindness are never manipulative. When we can choose to be kind instead of being right, everyone's having a healing. And then our life is so worthwhile. And this is the practice that we can do even when we're in quarantine. We can be kind with ourselves. Even if no one else is there, we can practice kindness. Instead of berating ourselves to get ourselves to go to bed early or to get out of bed early or something like that, we can entice ourselves with kindness and sweetness. I'm a big fan of speaking to ourselves with words like darling and sweetheart, beloved, changing the tone of our conversation. We can do unto ourselves as we would have others do unto us, so that we can be so good at modeling it and living it that it becomes our first nature. Not even our second nature, but our first nature. That our knee-jerk reaction is kindness and compassion. What a worthy goal for the Son of God. And that's all of us. The ends is in the means. If we'd like to have peace in this world, we must be kind to ourselves. So we begin with the kindness of forgiving ourselves for being unkind. We forgive ourselves all the debts and all the trespasses, roll them all up into a ball, every single one of them, all those offenses. We hand them over to Spirit to clear them from our awareness so we can be free of the past. So you may find today and in the days to come memories of being unkind to yourself or to others. And this is the higher Holy Spirit self way of saying, and forgive this too. You can forgive this too. You can stop judging yourself for this. You can stop judging that. And so when these subtle memories come into your mind and the temptation is to push them away, I don't want to think about that time I was so unkind. Wait a minute, this is the time for me to practice kindness with myself. And I can say, I don't need to judge myself for that anymore. That's ancient history. Now, kindness is my way. So let's all take a deep breath together as we get ready to hear another song from Maggie and Eric. Let's make this commitment to kindness. So grateful to Maggie for inspiring us today, and for Eric and their taking the love they have for each other and putting it into the music and pouring it all over us.
The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence Surely goodness, surely mercy will follow me all of my days. I will dwell in your house forever, your house forever, oh Lord.
So beautiful. Thank you, Eric and Maggie. And I'd like to share a little bit more about Maggie and Eric before we go into our breakout. So Maggie is a public health writer and editor, and Eric is a water resources engineer. Maggie's been in our Masterful Living community for several years, and she, as she said, started doing writing songs coming out of the non-judgment work that we're doing in our program. And she's written a baptism song, she's written children's affirmation songs, spiritual songs, and she's put personal and famous prayers to music, as we just heard. And both of them are classically trained in piano and share a belief in the transformative power of music to heal and to inspire. And they love to write together, as you heard, and they also sometimes perform in their local churches, which is nice. Yeah, so glad that you're here for the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last time. Yay. So heart opening. And how perfect to have our hearts so open going into the breakout. So if you're new here, this is one of the things that we do at Sundays with Spirit is we take advantage of the Zoom technology and we do breakouts. So we do small little groups so you can share and everybody gets a chance to anchor some healing for themselves by sharing. Now in our small groups, they don't last that long. You will have a chance to share, but you're not required to share. The most important thing about the breakouts is that you passionately listen, lovingly listen to your breakout partners, and please make sure everybody gets a chance to share and that you all have the time that you'd like. And what I'm going to invite you to discuss in your breakouts today is where can you be kind to yourself that you haven't been so kind lately, knowing that the ends is in the means. And if you'd like to have the peace of God, we have to be willing to practice the means to get it, which does include being kind and compassionate and non-judgmental with ourselves. And of course, maybe sometimes we've already judged ourselves, so it's time to move into the forgiveness, which is the release of the judgment. So this is the invitation for you to talk about in your breakouts. Where have you been judging yourself or been unkind with yourself? As you know, Maggie mentioned rushing. And when I first started practicing nonviolence back in the 90s very actively, I realized that rushing was a very unkind way to treat myself. And it felt like violence. It felt energetically like I was being unloving and unkind to myself. So I learned to stop doing that. And having this measure of kindness will help you really shift into a much more loving life. And like attracts like. So if you'd like to have more loving people in your life, be more loving with yourself. With yourself. And so this is your discussion topic in the breakouts. And Angela is our pilot today. She has arranged for our breakout rooms. She's going to take us there now. So you'll see your button arrive on the screen. Click the join button. If perchance you don't see it, look on the bottom bar where it says breakout rooms. And you can look there and find your breakout room there on the bottom bar. Not so sure if you're on a phone, can tap, look around. I'm sure you'll find it. Same if you're on a tablet. So look for your breakout room on the bottom bar where it says breakout rooms if you don't see it already. And for those who are not going to the breakout, we've got our friends on Facebook Live. We're going to have a little dialogue here, have our own little breakout for the Facebook Live folks. And so if you're not in your own breakout room, we're going to turn off your camera here for a little bit while we have a Facebook Live discussion. I'm going to invite Kieran J to kick us off over there in the UK. Let's get her unmuted here. There you go.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, hello everybody. Yum, 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 yum.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. I don't know if Maggie can hear us because she's not on visual, but so enjoyed the talk on non-judgment, all that Maggie is learning on non-judgment. So wonderful to hear. And then rolling into your beautiful highlighting of kindness. Let's be kind, let's be kind, let's be kind. Oh, what wonderful messages. And I'm very grateful. And I'd like to share how this is working in my life, just to add to this message. As I've said here before, I'm newly a grandmother. Ned is now 4.5 months old, so I'm into the swing of this by now. But I made a decision right at the beginning that I would not judge my son and son-in-law's parenting. I was very firm with myself. Ned is their child, not my child. They will probably do all sorts of things that I wouldn't do, but that's not my business. My business is to be very supportive of them in their parenting. And it's been very easy because I made that decision backed by spirit, holding on to spirit all the way. My choice is always to be kind and supportive to them in their parenting. And I'm finding such joy in that decision. And it becomes almost always very easy because I've made that decision with spirit. And it's beautiful to see how that's unfolding, their responses to me. They really love Nana coming round. They really love sharing Ned with me. It's very beautiful family time. Yes, it's this giving 100%, asking for nothing back on the level of form. And just giving and giving and giving to them as brothers on this journey. And my big thing, again, as I might have mentioned here before, has been rejection. That's been a big thing in Kieran J's life. Mm-hmm. So seeing them a couple of times a week in this new setup, all these new circumstances, there's ample opportunity for me to feel rejected. I say something slightly wrong. Oh, no, they'll never want to see me again. I didn't do it quite right. Oh, no. And I am learning to be very kind with myself. I walk out of the house to walk home, and the ego starts. You didn't do that. You should have said that. What about this? And I just let it all flow. I'm not taking any of that seriously anymore. And it's beautiful, beautiful healing for me. So this not judging and being kind. What a double act. Fantastic. Yeah. So grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So can relate to that. I think everybody can. And how good to hear your commitment to not judging and to just being loving, compassionate. That's the thing, is so many people get so upset. I've had so many conversations with parents and grandparents who think that their children should be vaccinated, not be vaccinated, should eat all organic, and it's all this, and we often completely forget that we live in a world of thought, and that the loving thoughts are the thing that really impacts everyone, is holding us all in love in our hearts. Yeah, thank you for that. Ah, Rosalind, would you like to share?
Yes, I would love to. So, well, first I have to say, Maggie, you were stunning. You are a natural speaker, teacher, inspirational leader. And the combination with Eric is magnificent. And so you are now delivering. You have already, in 2021, already delivered. So check that one off the list for this year. And many more performances will come. This was beautiful. I'd love to follow on the ideas from today, because I had a very good experience this morning to highlight all that you've talked about, judgment, beliefs, opinions, and how we, ABC of being a spiritual student. Yes, we learn about judgment, and then opinions, I can allow opinions. I'll speak for myself. So I live about an hour away from the Apple store. So that's an hour one way, an hour home. Had a problem, needed a new battery, went up there this week. Oh yeah, they have batteries, but no speakers. And apparently you need a new speaker when you need a new battery. Oh, and that was fine. Okay, I'll go home without the phone fixed and without battery. No, that's fine. Go up there again today. And turns out, oh no, they don't fix it right now. You have to wait a while. Well, I had an appointment that I felt very much like I needed to show up, because this person was in an extremely vulnerable place, and it was a writing group, and she was going for her second writing on something that was just very heart-wrenching. I don't want to speak of that because that'll distract us. So I really wanted to show up at this time. And every 5 minutes, they said 15 more minutes. And I heard really clearly from Spirit. I tend to hear words. This is not a problem. And I went, are you kidding? This is a problem. Now, I wasn't rushing, but it is like rushing, because I had the time. I needed to be at that appointment. And like the world is going to end if I don't show up at this time. And I kept hearing, this is not a problem. And I'm going, my opinion is this is a problem. And then this is very unusual. So Spirit must have been leading me to you, Maggie, and this service today, because I started hearing music. I don't hear music. I do hear words, but not music. And I was hearing a congregation, and I was thinking about how the message in a congregation, when people sing together, how it comes in even more strongly. And I started hearing how great thou art, and I started singing it to myself. And I'm very much a proponent of non-dualism. So when I hear myself having the Lord or God outside me, the next reflexive action is to bring it in. So then that song was then being sung to me, how great thou art, because there's only the one. And so pretty soon I was in presence. I was like, what appointment is that? Oh, whatever. What I did notice, there was not one temptation to use my New York talents that are in my history to try to get my way and say, now look, this is my second time here, and I have this appointment, and la 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 la. It was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It did occur to me. I had that condition in the background, but it was like, no, that would, like your means to the end, getting to that appointment would not be worth being rude or unkind to these people. So that never came close. It's kind of like what you were saying, Karen J, about the rejection. The old conditioning comes back as a possibility, but we no longer need to go there. And I just love the presence that you brought in your talk, because presence took over. And I have to tell you, I got the phone back. It starts out with low battery. I just got a new battery. It needs to be charged. I get home. No, I start home and I put Zoom on my phone, and it lasts till I get into the garage. And there was not 1 minute missed of that meeting. But what a learning. I mean, the learning does not seem to stop. So thank you all for sharing with me.
Yes, what a great example of we can learn in whatever way we'd like.
Mhm.
You know, we can learn through frustration, through irritation, or being gently led and guided with song and everything. So good. Thank you. Thank you, Rosalind. All right, Faith, you want to throw in something?
Yes, good morning. This is good afternoon, good day, good everything. This has been such an uplifting experience. Oh, Maggie, it was like you're speaking directly to my heart today. And I know I'm not the only one that felt that way. So much honesty and purity in both your speaking, and which reminds me that that's really what it's about, isn't it? You know, the singing and this pure of heart that we are here to be. And Karen J, you said something that I just really took to heart, and it was, it's not my business, right? Like, so I want to ask myself, what is my business today? My business is to be kind in every way. I have a good girlfriend who I was got a chance to see, and she was when I went to see her, she was in a bad mood, you know, and she was in a bad mood because she was dieting. And she was hungry and she was not happy, and I got kind of upset because I was like, well, why are you in a bad mood? I'm here, we're supposed to be, you know, like, you're not making this nice for me. And I realized that that was not my business. After, you know, it's like, and staying in that place of, oh, I need to honor where she is right now, whatever that is, and just be her friend. And I realized, I said to her, why are you being so angry? You know, what is, you know, you don't need to be this. And I thought, wow, that was really a judgment on my part. And I noticed that judgment. And today I'm really forgiving myself for that judgment last night, because I went to bed last night kind of feeling a little bad, like I hadn't really treated her kindly. And I'm like, no, I can forgive myself, and I can move into this moment in such kindness, that for myself and for her, that it will change the energy. It already has changed the energy, and this is what I know. We think we can't change the past, and it's not true. It is not true. We can change that energy just like that. So I'm really grateful for this talk today, for Jennifer. My gosh, your prayer was so amazing, and everyone being here. Maggie, such a great thing to finally get to hear you sing.
Thank you, Faith. Yes, so
Thanks
true.
for your help, Faith. You helped me out figuring out all this Zoom stuff.
Yeah, Angela, would you like to share anything?
Sure. I just so appreciate, Maggie, the way that you opened up everyone to be able to talk about their life in such a free way. And it's like right before this call, I have something right after this. And I thought, well, I got to grab it and I got to get everything so I can go right to the thing. And I'm like, you don't have to go right to the thing. You can take a minute. But this is what your talk opened up, is this recognition of the way that we are learning. Like, we don't have to do it that way. And how I don't have to do that. And just, this is such a blessing. And just, you know, my heart was full, my eyeballs were full again with tears the second week in a row. But it's like, because my classmate is like stepping out in the light with such grace, that it was so heartwarming. And you're talking about your husband, and he's kind of right there. And it's like, thank you. Yes. That's healing. The whole thing was healing, and it's so precious. And so I thank you. And I'm so grateful that I get to be here today. So thank you.
Angela, you've been such a teacher to me on softening, which is a lot of what this kindness is about. I attribute that to you, that line of where can we soften?
That's beautiful. Maggie, your volume was a little low there, just so you know when you come back. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to hook the mics back up, so we're juggling around.
Yeah, I get it. Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. I do the same with bananas. And I had this realization that I'll buy bananas. I like bananas in theory. So I'll get the bananas. I like bananas, but I put them in the bowl and they're a little bit green and then they turn a little bit yellow. And then I walk past them and they're a little bit spotty. And I walk past them and then they're turned. And then I think, oh, I'll make a cake with those. And then in the end, there's buzzes, there's things flying around them and I need to throw them in the bin. And that's when the attack happens. Like, oh, Jesus, I didn't eat the bananas again. And this is just a constant story of my life. Just, not seeing things, not being present, not thinking, okay, these bananas, what am I going to do with them? So this is what your story is reminded me of today. And I'm also playing a lot more music as well and hearing bits and pieces and trying to sing the title of a lesson to a song. Just put it in a song, and that's happening for me as well. I'm very grateful to hear your talk today.
And Maggie, how about you? Anything more you'd like to share?
Can you guys
Thank
hear
you,
me?
Kelly. Yes.
Yeah, it's a little better. You could just see our living room. It's just hilarious. You guys are on a ladder right now. Well, this was an interesting process to prepare for this. And I definitely went through my phases with it. I felt very led to do it. It kind of just felt like it all fell together, and had several people within Masterful Living, Rosalind, Karen Carruthers, other people say, you need to, go sign up. You felt to do this. And this was actually the least nervous I've ever felt doing something like this. I was nervous yesterday. It did hit me a little yesterday. I mean, I've never given a talk like that before. And I'm like, of course I would sign up to do all the music and that, no easing in. Like, why don't you read the prayer first, But it all felt together for me. And I was reminding myself of what I was learning. And I said, don't make it more important to focus on getting everything perfect. Try to enjoy it. And that's not normally a goal that even enters my mind. So it's been really a great experience.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yes, it's such a wonderful thing when we can learn to be just completely present during the moment, and available for whatever insights, whatever love comes pouring through us, that we can really, really, really be present in the moment. It's interesting. I know in my own life I've shifted how I am, and more and more I'm not coming from my surface mind. So sometimes people will ask me what would I like in some situation, and so I'll take a moment to just feel, well, what would I like? I don't know. I don't need to come from my history. What would I like in this moment? And sometimes people will jump on that and they'll say, don't you know what you want? And I'm like, I'm going to just take a moment. You don't know what you think about this? You don't know? And I'm like, I haven't been in this moment before, so I'm just going to be present in this moment. And so I think part of what we're all doing is we're learning a new way of being in the world, and we're training others to be in the world that way too, we can all learn to be present with each other and not react from our history. Something I've been thinking about so much lately is that, in A Course in Miracles and other great mystical teachings, they all say really that time is an illusion, and that the past, the present, and the future are all simultaneous. And so, that being the case, let's heal the past and generate a new future in the present moment. And we can only do that when we're committed to that compassionate way of being. As if we are going back to, well, what did I like before? What did I think before? Then we're just recreating the past, aren't we? And then there's not really the kind of healing that we can have. All right, enough from me. So how was your breakout? How was your breakout? I'm going to invite you to place into the chat. Here's another healing opportunity for you. Did you make any decisions? Did you come to any conclusions, any changes, any shifts, anything you're looking to forgive? Use the chat to make a declaration, to make an affirmation. I find it so helpful. This is one of the great advantages we have when we have prayer partners and spiritual brothers and sisters that we can do this work with, and we don't have to pretend or put up a good front. We can actually be honest and transparent and say and share what we're learning and what we're letting go of, what we're stepping into. It's so beautiful. So let's use our chat for that. And we're going to make a few announcements here, and then we're going to have another song from Maggie and Eric, and then we're going to have another prayer from Kelly, and then we'll be done, just like that. So announcements. I just put out in the inspiration that I wrote for today a survey. I think I put it in the PPS, a survey to see if you're interested in certain things that we're cooking up for this year. And I'd like to see what you're interested in. So I'm going to put that survey link in the chat if you have a minute to fill it out. And because I'm looking at doing another spiritual counseling training intensive. I'm looking at doing a program, maybe a 2-month program specifically oriented towards people who would like to heal depression, anxiety, and anger. And 3 things that I know a lot about, and that we've had a tremendous amount of success with people being able to heal these emotional issues through spiritual practice. So I'm looking at doing a kind of a boot camp around that, and some other wonderful things, especially as the reports are saying, oh, we could be in this semi-quarantine situation for a lot longer. It's like, okay, well, let's find some wonderful, fun things that we can do together online, and to make this an extraordinary year of healing and transformation. So I'm going to give you that survey. And then I think the only other real announcement that I have is that I'd like to say thank you to all of our tithers. It means so much because it really enables us to do things like Sundays with Spirit, to do all the free offerings that we do, the podcast, the daily inspiration, the prayers, and on and on and on, the free classes and all the things that we offer. We are looking at doing A Course in Miracles groups later in the year, so that's a lot of expensive web work for us to be able to do that program. And so your donations make it possible to build these things. And what really helps is when you have a recurring donation. Whatever it is, if you're willing to sign up for a monthly recurring donation, that really helps us And one of the easy ways to do that is to sign up for the free text messages. One, you can sign up, or you can set up a larger donation or a monthly recurring donation, acimtexts.com. And I'm going to turn it over and see, Maggie, by any chance, do you and Eric have any announcements that you'd like to make?
We do not, but thank you.
All right. And well, then I'm going to turn it over to the two of you to give us that song.
Okay. Okay, great. So is the volume better now, Jennifer? Okay, great. So we've had a shift of scenery here. This last song, Eric wanted you all to be able to hear the harmonies for, and because of COVID, we didn't feel like we could bring other people in to sing with us. So he is getting to sit in the chair in front of me and push play. But he did write this song with me, and I mentioned the purity affirmation song that I wrote for myself when I realized the guilt that I had. And this is that song. And this is the latest song that we have done. And you guys are the first ones to hear it. Am I pure? Am I innocent? Is there time for spirit? I can ask, is it kind? Is it kind to myself? My healing lifts me and the world. Is it kind? 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 I am pure, I am innocent. I have time for spirit. And I ask, is it kind? Is it kind to myself? My healing lifts me and the world. Is it kind? 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 Is it I am innocent. There is time for spirit. You are innocent. You have time for spirit. You're innocent. We have time for spirit. We are innocent. We have time for spirit. We are innocent. We have time for spirit.
Ah, so beautiful, Maggie. Thank you, Eric. So uplifting and inspiring. The word that keeps coming to me is angelic. Just feels angelic. Thank you so much. Ah, yes. And I saw Ari there with Kelly. He's getting up for the day there in Australia. All right, Kelly, will you carry us home with one of your beautiful prayers?
Thank you. Thank you, Maggie. Taking a breath, and Eric, taking a breath of gratitude for today's beautiful service. We're so grateful for Maggie, and her wonderfully talented husband as well, Eric, for their beautiful music. So grateful to remember that we have loving compassion and loving kindness for ourselves in any moment when we slow down and enjoy and bless the moment. And we remember Maggie's words, if you sing, you pray twice. We're so grateful for this healing today. We thank Jennifer, for Angela for her technical prowess, and for all the wonderful, beautiful people that have come today to join in service. When we heal, we never heal alone. And we share these benefits with everyone because we're one. In gratitude, we let this healing be, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amen. 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 And thank you to Angela. Thank you to Kelly. Thank you to Maggie, to Eric. Thank you to Sean. Thank you to Faith. Thank you to GJ and every member of the Power of Love Ministry staff. They've all helped to make this service a success. Thank you, everyone, for showing up, blessing us with your presence today. God bless you. And I think I'm going to write about bananas in my blog tomorrow. So there you go. Mwah. God bless.